Hey everyone, welcome to another review. This time we're going to be doing, I believe, my last theatrical review of the year, and it's going to be a biopic comedy drama written and directed by Adam McKay, who also gave us The Big Short, and it's none other than Christian Bale's latest attempt to kill himself, Vice. Vice is the story of the rise of power of Dick Cheney and some of the events that happened along the way, including and more or less ending with a real life complication he had. So it goes through how he first got into the political game to it jumps around at the very beginning because it goes through when he first got started, when he first met Donald Rumsfeld, when he first became head of the Pentagon, and it goes until he finally George Bush gets kicked out of office by Clinton, and he kind of just wants to give up and just go home and do his job with Halliburton, which he was the CEO of. And this is a really good movie. If you've seen The Big Short, you kind of know what this movie is like, as it does try to take this punchy subject and throw a little bit more humor on it than you would see in a movie like this. So you'll have moments where a narrator will come in to start explaining stuff to you. There's a fun cameo that I won't spoil for you, but a villain from Spider-Man is in this movie. And he just does literally a 3-minute spot, and it's wonderful. It's hilarious. Just like The Big Short, they use adjectives to help you understand complex meanings or to lay out the plan of what these characters are going to. God help Christian Bale. Holy cow, he's not only is he really good in this movie for the way he slows down his pitch, the way he stands very awkwardly to stand like Cheney, or he kind of speaks with like only one part of his mouth moving up because of all the heart attacks. And he's very transformative once again, as he gained massive amount of weight to look like Dick Cheney, and it really does work. His speech was down packed. I enjoyed it. It was very punchy dialogue. He has a performance at the very end of the movie where he talks more or less directly into the camera about people, about what he did during the whole Bush administration when he was the vice president. And that seems to take up the majority of the time. And that part, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I can understand some people not liking it because it does more or less make George Bush look like a fool and look like a complete idiot. George Bush is played by Sam Rockwell, who did it really well. He did the impersonation really well. Like, you can almost sit there and look at these guys. Matter of fact, everyone. Even Steve Carell, who plays Donald Rumsfeld, he's really good in his role as being this... Really, this movie portrays him as the person who helped Dick Cheney learn the ropes in the White House and in the government. Amy Adams is in this as Mrs. Cheney, and she does actually a really good job. And they really kind of portray her as the one who got Dick to fly straight and narrow. And she's kind of not like, she's not the prop, but she's like the motivation. She's the one who really pushes him at the beginning to get into politics. So kudos for her for that. Tyler Perry's in this as Colin Powell. His role isn't as big in this movie as I thought it was going to be, which is fine. He does an admirable job in his limited role that he's on TV for. But yeah, Bale as Dick Cheney really sells this like very cold attitude towards the people around him, and it's in very sharp contrast with at the very beginning of the movie when you first see him getting into politics and the whole conversation behind him on why didn't he run for presidency after the first Bush was done with office. And I won't spoil why he doesn't, but it's actually shows that he has more of a heart, which in comparison to later on when he talks to Donald Rumsfeld and gives him his marching orders, and just the whole way that he is in office. Like, they positioned him as constantly wanting power. Whether you think it's true or not, this movie actually opens up with a joke. How most stories will open up and say based on a true story. They do based on a true story, and then they give 2 lines and it ends with a really funny joke. Once again, I'm not going to spoil it for you. So the acting was on point. I liked the way that they made it very accessible. I can see some people not liking it because it almost seems like they're making light of it, but they're actually making it, just like they did in The Big Short, easier for the audience at home to understand, or the people who are not politically inclined. So I kind of appreciated that for what it was, and I kind of liked it. So it might not be in your ballpark, but for me, I enjoyed it. If I was to say the bad thing about this movie is some of the transitions didn't quite work for me. There were times where you didn't really know what you were watching. Basically, at the same time the movie's going, they'll do flashbacks to you'll see like muddy waters or things inside the water, or you'll see Dick Cheney walking around in a swamp, like fishing, and it's kind of like, why was that there? There is one scene where that fishing scene really makes a lot of sense, because they intersplice it with a conversation that Bush is having with Dick Cheney, W. So I really liked that one, but in the other sense of the movie, you didn't really need it there, because it didn't really tie things in together, for me at least. Also, depending on what you believed in history, yeah, they do kind of give George W. a pass by making him look like a complete fool. Like, there's a point where he's having a meeting in his cabinet, and literally Bale walks up to him in front of everyone and gives him like a motivational speech to kind of do what Dick Cheney wants. Also, there's a whole speech once Cheney gets as the vice president, where he basically, they show, and through really, once again, imaginative visuals, where you will see like different offices, and they'll be putting cards with people's faces on them of who's in charge, and them literally explaining to each other and the audience how these people are set up and how they're going to benefit Cheney. So that's one of those things where it's just how you land on it. I enjoyed it. Once again, I thought it was fun. It was very creative. Don't leave when the credits start. There is a mid-credit scene that is really funny and really shouldn't be missed. I almost walked out of it before it started, but as soon as it started, I was like, oh, this is really good. It was satirical and it was clever. I like this movie a lot. I don't know how much I felt about the narrator, though. When he finally gets into the movie, when we finally find out why he's there in the movie, I kind of saw it coming. I don't know if a lot of people did. There is a joke halfway in the middle of the movie that I thought was really funny. I don't know how many people will fall for it, but I definitely did. It did make me laugh as soon as it started. So if you get caught with it, please let me know. If not, you're just like me and you saw it coming. I really like this movie. I'm going to give Vice a 9.2. This is really smart. It's clever. I know some people are going to find faults with the fact that it's not accurate. It's playing things too jokey. And I thought that's just to make it more appealing, just like The Big Short, to a wider audience and not limit the crowds to come in and see this. And I also thought they actually did a really well balanced job of not portraying Cheney as a monster, but someone who's kind of a little bit more cold and calculating, and someone who really thinks about situations and kind of does have a heart in places. Oh, now I get that ending. Or why we had it. When you get to the ending and why the narrator is there, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Does it take liberty on some facts? Yes, it is based on a true story. But that's any story that's based on a true story, they will take liberty. So that didn't bother me. That's just another thing. Yeah. 9.2 for The Vice. Let me know what you think about it. Did you see it? Did that, at the 1 hour mark, did you fall for that joke? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and later.